Carrot and I are about to have a debate about Glitchtale fight scenes, or just fight scenes in general.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so mainly, I don't like them. I don't think that they're very effective if you use them too often.
I think they're very clever is how they used. Just as a creator stamp. I mean,
Alright,
and I'll tell you why later.
So I'll start off with what I like about fight scenes is that
Yeah.
they're freaking cool. They're intense, they're fun, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And they can be really fun if they are given the space that they need and all of that other stuff. Which leads me into my first point, I guess. It takes away from cooler things that could happen, maybe like side plots or something. So, mainly what I mean by that is that you have these moments where characters are like kind of wandering off looking for something, and then suddenly, they're launched into a fight scene. Which to me, whatever they were doing before might have been kind of interesting if it had built up to like the fight scene, I guess. If you
See, I feel like your only base on that is the one with Frisk. Frisk's fight scene, because she was looking for Betty though. That's the thing.
She was.
Then again,
but if we had done a little bit more with something else, you know.
Well, I mean, they had like the entire first half of the episode to do whatever they wanted.
So to me, having a ton of fight scenes kind of makes your villain seem weak, like really like weak, because as an audience, I know that the protagonist is going to win, maybe after some trial and struggle and stuff, but for me, I know that the protagonist has to win in some shape or form, with maybe some sacrifice, but...
Oh, that... Technically, we haven't actually gotten to the episodes where they lose, because they do lose, eventually.
But it just... Whenever the villain is all spooky and stuff, and then they go into the fight, they seem really weak afterwards, and because they've been beaten, so they have to like flee and do other things. Which is why a lot of your fight scenes will be, put towards the end of like a movie or cinema or something, because you had all this time to have your villain be all cool and overpowered and stuff, but then they're beaten, they look weak AF, and then you can just kind of end the story there. So that's mainly how I feel about that.
We haven't really gotten to the later episodes yet, or like actually written down notes on them yet, but later on, the main characters do lose. See, what I think is like, I'm gonna go off of Glitchtale real quick. It's like, the fight scene, or the episodes themselves are about like 4 to 6 months apart. So, they've been given time to forget about the other fight scenes. So they have time to simmer on those. And then there's another one at the end of like each episode.
Alright. But the only problem is that maybe in the show's story they've been given a ton of time between them, but to me as an audience member it's been like 5 minutes. Because they skip through.
Well, that's maybe... if you're watching it afterwards. It's like if you're watching it during the time that it's coming out, then it's kind of more understandable.
Betty has to keep gaining more OP powers in order to seem like a legitimate threat.
Oh.
I was kind of joking about that going on my way through the show, but then it started getting more apparent as I continued watching, because Betty really does just have to keep gaining more stuff in order to like actually seem, intimidating, and to stay as an actual like problem. Because then like one of the characters goes Super Saiyan or whatever and beats the crap out of her.
I feel like, see, she does gain more powers, but the entire time she's still intimidating. It's just that she's getting more strong. She's getting stronger. It's not that she has to keep getting abilities to seem intimidating, because the entire cast of the show is scared of her, regardless of what power she has.
But to me, as an audience, I wouldn't have any reason to fear her if everyone else could just beat her up, you know? And after a fight scene's over, why don't they just do it again when they see her? But no, the reason why she can't do that again is to have another ability so that they can't do that thing that they did in the last one. It's just it's a continuous cycle of making her more powerful that's soon probably going to get really unhealthy.
I mean, see, like, yeah, I can see where that's going, but so I think the next one, or the one after it, they do have plenty of fight scenes during that episode, but almost all of them are failures for the main characters. Because they can't beat Asriel.
But
they can't bring Asriel back.
But as an audience member, I know that they're going to have a fight scene that's going to turn everything around. Or maybe just a single scene that'll turn everything around. Preferably that.
Which makes sense. Like, just, if in a story, like, in a story standpoint, that makes sense. They're going to have to end up beating the villain in the end. Or it's just going to be something completely different where everybody loses.
Yeah.
Because, like, there are some stories like that, but that's not how this story is turning towards.
But I know that, like, if the story just kind of ends, that would be kind of, you know, anticlimactic to just have everything just end like that. So, for a functioning plot, it would just make sense to just let them win at some point. Or maybe just have it to where she doesn't truly, like, get defeated. They just have to kind of, like, find out a way to like, cope with this new way of living. And that would be interesting to me.
Well, there's that, or they could seal her off, and then eventually sometimes she comes back. More powerful.
Yeah, or something like that. That would...
Because that would be a little bit more probably what's going to happen. Because, like, what was it? The last season, the first season was, not really the same as the second. Well, how do I compare this to something? Basically, like, because you can tell that Betty really can't be defeated. She'll probably come back in the end, because they did say that there can only be one determination soul and one fear soul, right? So, like, eventually there will be another fear soul. It might not be the same person, but there will be another one. And that's how probably there's going to be a season 3 of this. Until they finally find out to destroy the pink soul forever. The fear soul forever.
And this one, I'm a little bit iffy on. It's kind of my weakest point, but it strains the animator to have to make the next fight scene even cooler.
Yeah. But she does it very well. Like, with the amount of time that she has, she manages to make an even cooler fight scene than the one before.
Which is fine until you hit a ceiling, and then suddenly you can't make it cooler. It just...
Which I don't think the fans would be that upset about if it wasn't cooler than the one before it. Because, like, once you get to a certain point, every fight scene is cool. It's not the matter of which one's cooler.
But yeah, you kind of... In order to, like, maintain a lot of people, you have to keep the story, like, to just keep everything, the stakes are like rising in some way. The tension has to just kind of stay or rise.
Yeah, at this point you can tell that it's climaxing at some point, and then once it climaxes it'll probably be over. So, like, it's not a matter of it's gonna keep getting cooler and cooler. It's like eventually they're just gonna stop, because, like, eventually they're gonna defeat the bad guy. So, like, they don't have to infinitely make the fight scenes cooler. It's just, yeah. I don't know.
I mostly just don't like fight scenes because they feel a little cheap. They kind of...
It's not that... Okay, so you keep saying that you don't like fight scenes. It's not that you don't like them. It's that you don't like them when they're used incorrectly.
And I don't like their overall effect when they're used a lot.
Yeah. I can see that, but when you're an animator like a small time animator like Camilla, it makes sense why she uses them a lot to keep her audience retained. And like a lot of people these days cannot sit still like myself. Or like people who can't whose attention span is so short that they can't even sit down for 5 seconds without a fight scene. It's like at this point it's pretty
And
whack.
that's kind of disappointing, to be honest, because
Yeah.
I like stories that, don't care about your inability to pay attention. They're just gonna tell you a story and then leave you with that.
But like I can like big companies like Marvel and stuff can afford to do that because they have
they already
millions
have
of dollars. But
and
for
millions of
Camilla, who
people.
can only upload videos, who can only upload those big animations about like once every 4 to 6 months, it makes sense why they would use a lot of fight scenes because that keeps your audience in there, keeps them invested in the story because they want to see how cool the next fight scene is, and she also keeps the story pretty interesting, but a lot of it is the fight scene. I think.
I'll leave you with this, but there was this. Did I ever show you that Happy Tree Farm plus My Little Pony thing? I think I showed you a little bit of it.
Yes, you did.
The story is awful. Don't get me wrong, but like this.
I think we made fun of the story while we watched that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we did. But the reason why people stayed wasn't because there was a fight scene every single episode. It was because there was this overarching threat because of this one demon character. So everyone kept watching because there was this wonder of what's going to happen next. There's still more questions that I have, and what's going to, all that stuff. So it just goes to show that even if you are a small animator that uses MS Paint and Movie Maker, you can still keep a big audience without fight scenes.
Yeah. But see, I don't know. I just feel like the way that Camilla does it is kind of okay and kind of not okay at the same time. It's like the people love the animation because of how different it is, kind of. It's not exactly too different from most animators, but she makes it interesting with her story and the fight scenes. But I don't know.
Yeah, that'll be for another video.
Yeah.
It was nice debating with you. Goodbye, sir.
Bye.